Little known fact, you're probably wondering why my hair's open. I retie my turban at least once a day just to get it fresh, to get it a little snug. And so let's get ready. And today I'm going to talk about how me and Polyev are very different people. We're the same age, very different people. So let's get ready. So let's talk about what I
Okay, Jason, that is obviously NDP leader Jagmeet Singh. Why are we hearing about his hair?
We are watching him with his turban off, and he's putting his hair in a bun to put on his turban. It's one of these get ready with me TikTok things. It's a viral kind of phenomenon, and basically he's using that while he's doing this turban tie-up. He's explaining his background and comparing it with Pierre Poilievre's background.
With a French version as well, also called Get Ready With Me or Gram.
No, it's not called Gram.
Anyway, you know what? If the elections are won on social media, that would probably do very well for the NDP because that English version of the video was seen by close to 5 million people.
That's pretty wild, but the thing is, we all know, elections not won or lost by social media alone because not all those folks are showing up at the polls for the NDP. I'm Catherine Cullen, host of CBC's The House.
I'm Daniel Thibault, host of Radio-Canada's political show Les Coulisses du Pouvoir.
I'm Jason Markusoff, producer and writer for CBC in Calgary.
And this is House Party, a weekly podcast diving into the big burning questions driving us toward Election Day. And this week we're asking, which party is talking to the TikTok generation? Okay, and I want to be clear, we're going to be talking about TikTok, but this is not truly a question about the app. What we want to know is who is best at reaching younger voters. Jason, what do you think?
Whenever we talk about this, I want to set the terms. Are we talking about millennials? Are we talking about Gen Z? I mean, are we talking about me? I'm not sure if that's the case anymore. I'm one of those elder, geriatric, or gray millennials. So what are our terms here first?
I you know what? I'm not sure. I don't think we're talking about me because I don't think I've ever watched so much TikTok stuff in the past 24 hours to prep for this than I did in the past year.
Well, when we're talking about what the polls tell us, and we don't want to do too deep a dive, there's basically kind of the 18 to 24 group, and then 25 to 34, we can go up and up and up, segmenting them. What the polls suggest is right now, despite Jagmeet Singh's popularity on TikTok, that it's liberals and conservatives that are kind of fighting it out for some of these younger cohorts.
I mean, one of the clear things is that you have to reach a new audience, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or other routes. And it pains me as a news guy, as a longtime newspaper writer, magaziner, now online analysis pieces, is that a lot of people who are, 40 and under, even beyond that, are not getting their news from the news. They're getting their news and information from these social media. They're getting news from word of mouth, shareables on YouTube. And there is this big race to, not only do the, get into that space. The leaders are going to have to do their own thing sometimes. The parties are going to have to do their own things. They're going to have to get influencers are now a bigger deal. We know that the liberals in government have paid influencers on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram to share their message. So it's a big new war for people with a whole bunch of different new issues.
You're reaching out to that generation, but do they go then and vote? Because it doesn't seem to translate when you look at public opinion and radio and TV and newspaper, and we all three of us still do that. I was reading in a newspaper analysis. Funny, a newspaper analysis about TikTok.
So old school of you, Dan.
Thank you for your support.
You work for the CBC now, Jason. Get with it.
Some specialists look at that and say there's still a bit of a frustration with the younger generation. It kind of diminished the message when you go on social platform like that. It doesn't have the same credibility that the message you see on radio, on TV, or hear on radio, or read in a newspaper. And so maybe that's part of the disconnect.
Yeah, Jason, you shared something sort of in the group chat between the three of us the other day that I had completely forgotten about, right? Which was what the NDP themselves thought of what happened in 2021 vis-a-vis social media usage.
Yeah, and as I explain this, let me just put on this tie here. So the NDP have...
I want to see you do your hair, man.
Oh, God, that's a very short, fraught thing, and my hands will be too sticky for the mic. But let me put on this tie here. So... the NDP have really doubled down. I mean, this became Jagmeet Singh's thing in the last two elections. He's not a terribly young guy himself. He's in his 40s? Is he 50 yet?
Okay, I got to interrupt here because you guys are listening to this.
We're getting
as a podcast. We do this over video. Jason really is putting on a very colorful floral
This is nice.
tie.
Very
yeah. Is this going to have to be like our new thing, guys? All start. The time. I don't know a lot about tying ties, but I'm quite sure the microphone's not supposed to be in the middle, Jason. Okay, sorry, you were talking. What's your point?
Get full Windsor with me here. So Jagmeet Singh has really made his mark on social media, and that was kind of he got a lot of headlines for this. It became he was reaching out in a way that others were not reaching out. He was doing things, talking direct to video in a way that. He was almost out-younging Justin Trudeau for quite a while, in a way that Aaron O'Toole and Andrew Scheer, his Conservative rivals, were not, and Francois Blanchette, not sure if he has much of a game, but that was his big kind of calling card in 2021. A bit 2022, 2019. But after the 2021 election, the NDP had a debrief, thinking, well, we've kind of stalled out at about 24, 25 seats, didn't improve their standing. Jagmeet Singh's been running for a while. They did a big debrief and posted online, so we all saw it. And one of the things they said about the social media outreach was that a lot of it's been effective, but there is a concern. I'll quote it. There was suggestion that Jagmeet Singh's notoriety on TikTok makes him appear, quote, less serious, which needs to be addressed. And I've tied my tie, and somebody else can speak.
Good work on the Windsor there. I like the technique.
I think part of your collar is caught under your tie.
Well, you clean it up after, right before you go out. That's all good. It is an interesting take, and it's the NDP has been banking quite a bit on social media, and they've been pushing that stuff. This election and the first video of the most recent series starts with, "Hey, we're back on TikTok." So they were away for a while for security concerns and everything that we heard about TikTok over the past couple of years. So they were quite willing and quite excited about coming back because they feel, or at least they think, that it gives them some traction with some voters. They're pretty much the only one. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I looked around. I couldn't find any of the other party with such an active presence, especially on TikTok. I've seen like François Legault in Quebec uses Facebook, and Twitter to push some messages on the weekend. Usually much longer messages to Quebecers. We see the quick reaction from other political leaders on Twitter. But yeah, the NDP is occupying that space very well. Can they make it pay? And that's the big question, I guess.
Well, and I was talking to someone with the NDP who was saying this strategy of thinking about social first, of really being present, is an important part of their campaign this time around. I have to say, when I think back to, I believe it was the last campaign, truly one of perhaps the only things that I retained from the NDP's campaign last time around was it was Jagmeet Singh who taught me about the emotional shower trend. You remember that, where he was sitting in a bathtub holding up a sign and the shower head is going, and this is the emotional shower meme, and the sign said something about like, I'll be sad if you don't turn out and vote on election day. But Jagmeet Singh teaching me like where the kids are at. So that maybe speaks to your point, Jason, about just how serious a leader seems to be. If that is one of your big takeaways, is he was the guy who was sitting in the bathtub. That said, it is the place to reach people, right? Everyone's on their devices. And so all the campaigns have to have presence on social media. That is further complicated by the Online News Act and the fact that on platforms like Instagram and Facebook, there isn't news there, right? So you're counting on, be it other sort of I don't know if services is the right word, other groups that are just making sort of political content, but not actually creating news, putting stuff out there, or getting it out yourself. And the NDP was saying to me, they're thinking about getting video ads right directly onto people's phones. But there's also things that Conservatives have been really targeted about how they're using their money, and they have a lot more money than the other parties. And before the election campaign began, outside of the writ period, this was a big advantage to them. You'd hear about them targeting people on, video game platforms, very, very targeted advertising that would say, okay, we know you're in British Columbia and you've looked at some of Pierre Poilievre's content before, and maybe you are interested in this and this and that, so we're going to give you an ad that is specifically about, the World Economic Forum and Pierre Poilievre's stance on that, because we know that that's going to speak to you. So that can be a powerful tool because it's so motivating if they know they're speaking directly to someone's interests.
Oh, and the ability to micro-target. I mean, if you post on TikTok, whoever watches the TikTok will see you, but you can slice and dice at Facebook or YouTube or I guess Twitch Marketplace. You can target 21-year-olds to 24-year-olds in a certain area of BC, like Lower Mainland, who have certain interests in certain things. So who watch a lot of American media, for instance, or who like Joe Rogan. The ability to micro-target with that is immense, and that goes well beyond the traditional one of we want to put an ad up during the hockey game.
That particular targeting system, it's a lot more precise. Why then the NDP being so present in social media doesn't translate into popularity in the polls? When you look at, we've seen the national polls, they're below 10% in most of them right now. And if you look at the breakdown in age groups, 18-34, 35-54, they're pretty much all leaning towards either the Liberals or the Conservatives. The younger voters in Canada are not going to Jagmeet. They're not going to the NDP. And so how efficient is that particular way of reaching out to voters?
And on top of that, younger voters are less likely to actually turn up at the polls, right?
Well, that's the other thing.
Voters. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about how the Conservatives are existing in this space of appealing to younger voters, because even though we said off the top, the fight is between the Liberals and the Conservatives for quite a while, part of the reason that the Conservatives were driving the political narrative in this country and seemed to have such a hold on things was because they really had narrowed in on the concerns of younger voters. And even now, it depends which opinion poll you look at, but when it comes to that sort of mid-30s into your 40s demographic, especially with men, Conservatives are still an important part of that conversation. So what is it that they were doing and have been doing, Dan, that is speaking so much to this sort of middle tranche of voters?
They're addressing their concerns. They have a hard time finding an affordable home. They have a hard time paying their bills. Like everything, it's more complicated for younger Canadians than it was 15, 20 years ago. And that's what Pierre Poilievre has been driving as a message to those voters for the past 2 years. And I've been to some of the rallies, and you see them, they're younger, they're interested, they want to listen, they feel like he can make a difference to them. And it's probably one of those instances of, I'm listening to that speech and I'm going to go back home and I'm going to talk to my friends who are the same age, and half of them may come to the next one, and then it trickles down. That's something that we've seen over the past 24, 36 months steadily. And I'm not sure if there is any more to explain that than the good old word-to-mouth thing and reaching out the traditional way with ads, with videos on YouTube. I don't think YouTube is considered a very, very avant-garde. Like it's not a brand new platform. It's been there for a while. And so it feels to me, and I'm no specialist of that, but it feels to me that it was the traditional way of doing politics that worked out because those voters heard the message that they needed to hear or wanted to hear from Poilievre.
Poilievre's been reaching out, and I think history might regard him as one of the best communicators in a certain format that we've had in a while. Quite an effective one. I mean, the fact that he was able to turn a very popular carbon tax as to one of the most, poisonous political policy initiatives in our time speaks to his ability to tell a story. He's been able to persuade these millennial younger men tapping into their frustration with their lot in life. And in the way he does, in the way he crafts these stories, he's produced a lot of these longish explainer videos, which portray a problem, make people angry at the government, put all the blame on the government. It's a bit oversimplified sometimes, but it's an effective, all-encompassing narrative that will make people frustrated with the Liberals and see him as the diagnoser of the problem in a way that other people can't quite succinctly diagnose. And like this one he did just on Monday about the national energy corridors, where he started off with standing next to a bust of John A. Macdonald and talking.
Prime Minister, could you get the railway built today? Let's not forget why John A. wanted an east-west railway. It's so that we wouldn't be so dependent on the Americans. But today, with the United States threatening tariffs, we need east-west trade more than ever before, and building that kind of project would be impossible to start with. This Liberal minister,
he does this in a compelling way that I don't know if I've ever seen a political leader in Canada certainly do.
Channeling the anger and the frustration to a certain level.
And I've noticed that every morning where he'll have his announcement in the morning, Poilievre, but before that, he'll post one of these explainer videos to social media where he is the narrator, and he knows that that's going to reach people in a way who are not watching CPAC, who are not watching CBC News Network, and watching the actual press conference. He's reaching those people in a different way, and it's unlike what anybody else is doing right now.
And it's something very counterintuitive because he's putting out there very long videos where we keep being told that, it needs to be short, it needs to be punchy, it needs to be reaching out to a younger audience on social media. He puts out, like when he explained his plan for to build more home, I think the video was 12 minutes, and there was a lot of people who went to watch it. So obviously there's something there that works.
It's interesting, though. They're having this success with men. It gets a little bit more complicated, or it's not going as well for the Conservatives when you look at the female side of the coin. And if you look at what some of the polls are telling us about the issues that the Conservatives are speaking to, right? People between the ages of 18 and 35 years old, significant number who have had to delay buying a home, renting a home, pursuing post-secondary education, getting married. Even 25% of respondents to one poll by Abacus Data in 2024 said they were delaying having children. And so Pierre Poilievre has been making this reference a few times, and it's really getting play on social media, although not in the way the Conservatives would want this week, where he's talking about biological clocks. And I do think that this illustrates the challenge Conservatives are facing with women. Let's listen.
We will not forget that young 36-year-old couple whose biological clock is running out faster than they can afford to buy a home and have kids.
And what he's saying there, I mean, it is grounded in fact. There are younger people who are delaying having children because they're worried about their finances. But I think it's this idea of talking about couples, and in other instances, he's talked directly about women's biological clocks. And for some women, that gives them the ick, as the TikTok generation would say. I don't like it.
That's a very bold speech because, I would need a very convincing advisor to come to me and say, you should use the word biological clock in your speech.
But I think what is also significant here is he is correctly diagnosing an issue that people in a particular age bracket are seized with. This question of having to delay my life or feeling like things are stacked against me if you are a younger person who has had trouble moving out of your parents' place, or feel like you're never going to be able to buy a home, or feel like you'd like to have children and you can't yet. But then it is the specifics of the approach in this case, like the phrase biological clock, that is going to be off-putting, and speaks to the fact that there is a divide amongst Conservative supporters. They're doing better with men than they are with women.
There's probably a man who's going to explain to you, Catherine, that your concerns are misguided on this record. That it's actually
but that man better not be you, Jason.
That man is not on this podcast, I don't believe.
Thank goodness.
It's better that way, yeah.
And you see, Pierre Poilievre has been accompanied by his wife, Anna, a lot. I mean, like more than I would say the average political spouse. She's very present. And I think it is in part because having her present sort of rounds out this image of what the Conservatives are trying to represent.
And it's funny because in Quebec, I heard a lot of people who were annoyed by that. And I don't know if it plays like that in the rest of the country, but here I've heard a lot of friends and people I meet who look at that and think, she's being used as a prop. And they don't like the way she's always there. She doesn't need to be always there. She doesn't need to be that involved. And there's a bit of a backlash, and it's anecdotal. But I'd say about half a dozen people came to me in the past couple of weeks saying, I don't like the way this plays. That I don't like the way he uses his wife in a political setting.
That's super interesting.
She's a quite compelling speaker, though, I have to say. I mean, she's like, among political spouses, we not always, and especially in Canada, hear barn burner introductions from the political spouse. She seems very keen to do it. I mean, let's note, she was a political aide before she met Pierre Poilievre.
And even when you see them interacting on the campaign trail, she's clearly at times giving him advice. Like, it doesn't seem to be like the little woman in the corner. She has some say, and they are trying to present themselves as a pair. Let's talk about the Liberals a little bit. As we were saying, they're surging with some of these younger voters. Not all of them, but some of them. I haven't seen Mark Carney's Get Ready With Me on TikTok yet.
I don't think you will.
So what's going on there, guys?
I don't know. I mean, the videos we've seen from him are very classics. They're simple. They're basically a TV ad that they format to fit on a smartphone screen, and it's really mainly about his vision for the country and what he's proposing, and trying to distance what he's having in mind from what Justin Trudeau's Liberal would be doing. It doesn't feel to me like it's overly exciting from a younger generation point of view.
Who's ready to help the Liberal Party win the most consequential election in our lifetime? Because in Canada, as Canadians, we care about everyone. We know that we're all in this together.
I think it's the analog of the not serious criticism of Jagmeet Singh. I think that after Justin Trudeau and he rubbed people the wrong way for, especially in the last several years, people are looking for a more serious politician, a more traditional politician from the Liberal brand, and he's trying that. I mean, look, a couple of his big viral moments have been viral moments towards more of the Gen X boomer set, him appearing before he ran for leadership on Jon Stewart. I don't know if Jon Stewart has a very big youth reach now, and doing those ads with Mike Myers, the Canadian actor, who I don't, maybe some younger people appreciate him as Shrek. I'm not sure. I think of him more as Austin Powers and
Wayne's World.
And I have to, I know who Mike Myers is, but I have to say, even some of the references in the ad, like the Bud, the Spud, I don't know. Are you gonna take away my passport?
We gotta get you some Stompin' Tom music in your ear.
I know some Stompin' Tom, but we're talking style. And I wonder, in terms of substance, are the Liberals, is this just about the moment, or are the policies the Liberals putting on the table also trying to speak to these younger voters?
It's more bland, more beige version of the Liberals we've seen in the past 10 years. That's what he's been putting forward. He's trying to personify change because there's an appetite for change out there, and so he's basically saying, I'm not Trudeau and I'm not moving with his policies. So that's in itself a change. He's borrowed a few ideas from the Conservatives over the past few weeks. The energy corridor, by the way, that Mr. Poilievre was putting forward a couple of days ago. Mark Carney talked about it right after he met with the premiers from the province and the territories. And so I don't think he's changing. I don't think he's doing anything different. I think he's just trying to be reassuring and calm the anxiety that you can feel, and on some levels within the Canadians. I don't think he's going anywhere special there.
What's also interesting, though, is Carney has made a perceived shift, I would say, towards either the center or even the right for the Liberal Party, if you contrast him to what Justin Trudeau was doing. And theoretically, this opens up a lot of space for the NDP, right? There's this old expression, if you're not a Liberal when you're young, you have no heart. If you're not a Conservative when you're old, you have no brain. I think, people might question that, but that's sort of the common expectation, that people are more progressive when they're younger and they become more conservative as they grow older. Why hasn't the NDP seized or been able to seize on that space that's been opened up?
I think the binary election factor
Yeah.
is really hurting. I mean, it's hurting them and it's hurting the Bloc Québécois certainly as well, and probably squeezing out the Greens and the PPC. The lower ends of things were never really strong. I think people realize that this is a choice for prime minister that we need, people of all ages are perceiving that we need a strong leader to fight this existential threat, this new threat that we're facing with Donald Trump, tariffs, the 51st state thing. And they know that there are two options, and it's time to choose a prime minister. And if the alternative is Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney, and you're a progressive, a young progressive, old progressive, you know that the other parties play spoiler. And Pierre Poilievre, yes, he's popular among some young people, but if you're a climate-minded voter, if you're a social issues voter, like, very strong on women's rights or abortion, even though Poilievre is pro-choice, you know that there is a threat on the conservative side. And if you're also anti-Trump, which a lot of young people and old people are too, you may perceive him as more Trumpy, then you want to vote for the best choice there is to block him. And, for all intents and purposes, everybody's seeing that as Carney, it seems right now.
It's totally the binary thing. It's totally that. It feels like that in Quebec because it's hurting the NDP, but it's hurting the Bloc as well. And so those people sitting here who would usually vote for a separatist party are now thinking the Liberals are my option. And that says a lot. Like, if they're willing to move that far on the political spectrum, it's because there's a binary race.
Well, I have really enjoyed getting ready with you, Jason. Dan, you showed up with your tie on, and frankly, I'm disappointed in you.
Next time. Yeah,
he wakes up with his tie on, I'm pretty sure.
I didn't get the memo.
I'm not wearing a tie, but I got a blazer on, and it's true.
Yeah.
I basically do sleep in it.
I think we all look awesome. It's going to look so good on this podcast.
Are you going to keep the tie for the rest of the day, Jason?
I just might.
Listen, guys, this was fun. Let's do it again next week.
Good, because we're not getting any younger.
Okay, that is it for House Party this week. Thank you so much to my fashionably dressed co-hosts, Jason Markusoff and Danielle Thibault. And thank you also to our always fabulous-looking production team, Caitlin Crocker, Jennifer Chevalier, and Carla Hilton. And if you want to get ready with us, be sure to give us a follow in the podcast feed for The House so you can catch both House Party and my other show, The House, every week. The House will be with you on Saturday, and House Party will be back next Wednesday with another big, burning election question.